What is going on? So we are going to be talking today. By the way, me walking in and fidgeting with the camera, that was totally candid. I didn't know my camera was recording. The tripod was squishing the record button. But anyways, we're going to be talking about grief today. We're going to be talking more about the passing of my grandmother. Another just kind of free-flowing talk. I'm not going to edit this a whole lot. Probably not even add music. But we're going to be talking about the passing of my grandmother. And it's this November the 2nd, I believe, will be 2 years. Good God. It felt like she passed away a couple months ago, if I'm honest. I got a photo. This is my, I wouldn't say it's a gaming room, but this is my desk where I game. And I've got a little photo of her. There she is. And she stays right on my desk. I also have something else. Give me a second. I think I mentioned this in a video I don't know if I did. This is her walking stick, which I bought her many years ago as a Christmas present because back throughout, 2012 to, it's hard not to get emotional talking about it. My grandmother always wanted walking sticks. And she never had a proper one. I would always go out with my cousin. It was like 2012. These are very fond memories to think back on. 2012 to like maybe up until she passed, maybe 2018. So for like 7-8 years, my cousin and I would walk around, and it was always me doing it mainly. I would always find them. I would find twigs and branches and whatnot and try and, break them and shape them to be a walking stick because my grandma liked walking sticks. She just did. She was also older. In her 70s at that time. So, walking sticks was something that I always gave to her. Being a little kid, it would always be, my girlfriend's taking a shower. It would always be, I always find a big thick branch or something from a tree outside in the spring or summertime, and I'd walk it up to her and surprise her with it in the house. And it would be splintering because it's from a tree, it's a branch. And, I'd maybe crack off the little twigs and, there we go. And I think in 2017 or 2018, I bought her a real walking stick, finally. I think I got it from Walmart, Trailblazer walking sticks, nothing fancy. So I keep this leaned against the corner of my room. Very big walking stick. I can't get it all the way in frame. It has a nice rubber end. No, we're not doing a review of the walking stick, but when she was laying in bed, like 2 or 3 weeks before she passed, it's hard to talk about. I was sitting there holding her hand, and she said, "I want you to, have something to remember me by, or I want you to." She looked at the walking stick in the corner of her room, kind of hidden, tucked in behind the door, and she said, "I want you to have that." So she knew she was going to pass. Even though during that entire time, she was saying she was going to beat it, I think she knew. So I have, arguably the most memorable thing to remember her by was the walking stick that I bought for her. I don't know if anyone's gonna think that's weird. Sometimes you take what purely belonged to whoever has passed. You take away an article of clothing, you take a cigar box or whatever, or a hat that they bought. Generally, I don't know if you take back a gift that you bought for them, but that's what she wanted for me. She said, "Take the walking stick that you gave me." And it was hers for many, many years. So this was hers. Anyway, I'm gonna set that down gently. So I kind of have it against I'm going on a bit of a tangent, but I kind of have that tucked leaning on the wall, against the wall, the corner of the room, very casually, like she did in her room. I'm trying to mimic it. Also, to remember her, I'm getting I don't care if you like tattoos or not. This is what I'm doing. This is what I'm getting. I'm getting a full forearm, like quarter sleeve, angel wing design, just feathers, very detailed, all the way up my arm. to remember her as well, because my grandmother loved angels. She liked the idea of them. She liked the little, it was like porcelain or ceramic white little angels that you could buy at a flea market. Very like early 2000s, 1990s. And I want to get some of those too to remember her by. So let's talk about grief. Let's talk about how weird and awful this can be at times, because it's just that. It's awful at times. It hits me randomly. It sucks. So lately I've been dealing with this feeling. I'm getting off of it now, but I was on Paxil, an antidepressant. And it can kind of make you, for me at least, it can make you kind of feel non-empathetic. Kind of like it's very hard to cry. And I've always never really been a huge crier. But lately I've been thinking about my grandma prior to me getting off of Paxil, which I'm doing now, which I'm off of now. Very recently I got off of it. I would always, I lost my train of thought there. I would always, I would think about her, but I wouldn't really cry. And it would worry me. It's like, man, am I going crazy? Am I just like losing that connection that I had with her? But no, it turned out it was the Paxil, because now that I'm getting off of, now that I'm off the Paxil, weaning off, I could cry just thinking about crying, literally. I'm that emotional getting off of it. And I think that's like my old self coming through, finally getting off this medication and hopefully stay off for good. Anyway, yeah, it's been much more rough getting off this medication because I'm crying about her a whole lot more. And there's a lot of things that are bringing memories of her back. Take, for example, I visited her grave here in Danville, about 3 weeks ago, I think it was, and it's the springtime now. And so it was a nice warm day. It wasn't hot, wasn't cold, very slightly windy. And, it was the first time in a while that I heard lawnmowers as well, because it was just winter here in Indiana, and that's wrapping up. That's done. So I was sitting there staring at her grave. I could feel the spring air. You could smell the air. I don't care what anyone says. You can smell the seasons. It was this fresh cut grass and the warmness making the environment smell different and whatnot. I was sitting there and I was staring at her grave, and I was hearing lawnmowers in the distance. And I was feeling, and I think it was the weekend too. So I kind of had that weekend, like nostalgic feeling or good feeling because it was the weekend. Coupled with the lawnmowers, coupled with the smell of fresh cut grass, and coupled with me thinking about her, that brought back many memories of her sitting on her porch that she would do at her house. Anytime I would go up there on the weekends, or if I was out of school and it was during the week, I would go up there. Oftentimes, she would be sitting out on the porch in that warm spring or summer weather. Those are really the only seasons she sat out there, spring and summer. And that brought me back, because when I would see her on the porch, you'd hear lawnmowers. It would be spring. It would be inviting. And having all those sensations going on, but looking at her grave, I started to bawl. And I did plan on it. Not really any plans on it, but typically I can feel when I might cry today, or today's kind of gloomy, but this just came out of nowhere. And I was sitting there just staring at her grave, and then all of a sudden I just started crying, and then I started bawling, and then it got so bad to where I was, for whatever reason, self-conscious about if anyone around was looking at me. So I was like bawling, doing this with my shades over my eyes. But yeah, it's been rough, and like just having the weather and whatnot, spring roll back around, and having many great memories with her during those seasons. I had great memories with her with all the seasons, but it just hit me like a train. It's like, man, she's really gone. And that's something weird as well that I've been dealing with is, it literally doesn't feel real, and it doesn't feel real in a very creepy, weird way. What I mean by that is I went up to my aunt's where she used to live about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, and I stayed the night there. Now, I have not stayed the night there in years, about 4.5 years, because of a falling out with my cousin. He used to live up there with my aunt and grandma. Anyways, I'm not talking about that. I was sitting there on the couch where my grandmother would sit. And of course, she's passed now. She's no longer living. And my aunt sits across from me in her chair where she would always sit. She has her own little chair. And then from the kitchen wall is behind my aunt. There's a corner that you walk around from the kitchen to get in the living room. The entire time I was sitting there talking to my aunt, I thought she was going to walk around the corner, my grandmother. It does, every time I go up there, it's just this really disturbing feeling where, like, I think it's OCD, which I have too, yay, where like my brain tricks me into almost thinking she's alive or she's going to come around the corner. And I think that's part of grief as well, is like it not feeling real. It's not fun. But I was up there and, I was just staring at that corner of the wall, back and forth, talking to my aunt, trying to be happy, and like just swearing to God that she would come around the corner. And it's most potent, that feeling of her absence, or the feeling that she feels like she's still alive, is whenever I'm up there. It is really disturbing and weird. I don't like feeling that way. But anytime I go up there, I'm almost looking for her in a way. The couch that I was telling you about that I was sitting on looking at my aunt, my grandmother sat on that couch on the very right side. And any couch that my grandmother or aunt had ever owned, if you were sitting on the couch looking away from the couch, she would always sit on the right side. And if you're looking towards the couch, it would be your left. And it was so weird. In that spot that she would sit at now is a pillow dedicated to her memory. And my aunt would say, I rotate this pillow towards the TV so she can still watch what's that game? It's a game show on TV. It's not Jeopardy. They would watch that too, but it was Price is Right. My aunt and grandmother loved to watch that. And so my aunt said, I turned the pillow, the memory pillow of my grandma, towards the TV, and we watch Price is Right together in the morning. Doesn't feel real. It doesn't feel real at all. When people say that death of a loved one doesn't feel real, for me, not only that, but it's also disturbing, because when I go to places that I used to see my grandmother and she's not there anymore, my brain wants to believe that she's there. So it's like this really, like, I'm like tense the whole time. It's like I think she's gonna like jump around the corner or something. Surprise, not dead. That's a little morbid, but that's how my brain is. It's like many nights I would stay on that couch. Years ago when I would stay the night up there, I would sleep on that couch. Or as I was winding down, getting ready to go to sleep, my feet and my legs would be propped on my grandma's, her thighs, and she would scratch my back, just hold my legs, or just like rub my back as a grandma would. And it was weird when I was trying to fall asleep that night. It was just, I was expecting my legs to be slightly elevated because I would lay my legs on her legs. And I did that ever since I was like 4 or 5 years old, maybe even younger than that, up until I was like 19. That's not fun. It's, I'm especially coming off of this antidepressant. Like I said, I could cry thinking about crying. I get very emotional now at like everything. It's been hard, and I haven't really been actively trying to navigate her loss either. Like, I'm just letting the emotions come when they come. I've been not fighting any emotions. I haven't been rejecting them. But now that she's gone, I'm trying to kind of live for her memory, what she stood for, and whatnot, all those good traits of her, and I'm trying to keep her memory alive in like a kind of private way. And I said this in the video that I did with kind of describing my grandmother's death, or describing her life. That woman could change your day just by greeting you. And I mean that sincerely. You could be having a horrible day, and you say you never met her before, and you meet her. You leave her house an hour or two later, and you're in a better mood, almost guaranteed. If a saint could be a person, like I'd say if an angel was a person, I think she was the closest physical embodiment and representation of what an angel is. She was beyond caring. She was very sweet, very loving, very giving, and she loved and cared about people in a very like hard way. She loved people hard. And it's something my uncle said at her funeral, which I still like to quote, is he said something like that. He said, she loved people and she loved hard. And she really did. And God, really. So this was kind of an all over the place video. There wasn't like a linear story or something or a narrative I'm trying to tell, or I'm just kind of rambling, trying to get my thoughts out. Yeah, so if you guys like this video, like, comment, subscribe. I'm gonna turn this light off because it's blinding me in the face. And I hope maybe you can take something away from this video. Maybe it can comfort you. Maybe you can feel some sort of relatability. And maybe it'll help you a little bit. So thank you. I'm gonna upload this video and I will see you guys later.